Combining like terms in the distributive property, lesson pre-8. The distributive property is nothing new. We did this back when we were writing equations, when we needed to use the point slope form of an equation, and we used it to help solve. So this is nothing new. I'm just going to go over this quickly. So remember, when you're using the distributive property, you multiply the outside term times each of the inside terms. So outside term times each inside term. So if you look up here, I took A times B to get AB, and then A times C to get AC. So we took this outside A and multiplied it by each of the inside terms. Now, normally, if you had like this example, the 2 times 3 plus 5, normally you would do what was inside the parentheses first. So I would take and add 3 plus 5 to get 8, and then 2 times 8 is 16. We know that that is how you would normally do it. However, if we were doing the distributive property, we would take that 2 and we would, didn't need to do that. We would multiply it times each of the inside numbers. So I would take 2 times 3 and 2 times 5. So 2 times 3 would give me 6, 2 times 5 is 10, and 6 plus 10 is 16. Notice how we get the same thing. So again, this is just a review. We've done the distributive property before. You should know what to do. All right. So for example 3a, 3 times x would give me 3x. 3 times 2 is 6. Now, since that's a positive 6, I put a plus sign in between. For b, 5 times y is 5y. 5 times, now you need to be careful, this is a negative 7. You're multiplying 5 times negative 7. 5 times negative 7 would be negative 35. And again, when you're doing these on your own, you should be using a calculator, just to be on the safe side. C. Now this is a little different, but we've done this before. Remember when we had z and z? All right. What do you get when you multiply z times z? Well, when you multiply variables, you add their exponents. So 1 plus 1 would give me z squared. So when I take 2z times z, 2 times 1 would give me 2, and z times z would give me z squared. So when I multiply those two together, I get 2z squared. And then 2z times 8, 2 times 8 would give me 16, and then I would still have the z. So for C, it would be 2z squared plus 16z. For D, negative 4 times m would give me negative 4m. Then negative 4 times positive 2 would give me negative 8. Notice how I'm not putting plus negative 8. All right, if it's a negative number, you just put minus 8. So negative 4m minus 8. All right, what I would like you to do now is I want you to pause your video and I want you to do E through I on your own. Take a moment, pause your video, go ahead and complete E through I on your own. All right, so you should have done E through I on your own. Let's check your work. For E, negative 1 times anything is the opposite. Remember, when you're multiplying by -1, you're taking the opposite. So for E, it's like saying, what is the opposite of -5b? And what is the opposite of -3? Because two negatives would become positive and so forth. So -1 times -5, or the opposite of -5, would be positive 5b. And then -1 times -3, or the opposite of -3, is positive 3. So notice how the digits didn't change, just the signs. The -5 became a positive 5, the -3 became a positive 3. F is very similar to C. So I'm going to start by multiplying the -2 and the -4. Two negatives become positive 8. So 2 times 4 is 8. So that would be positive 8. And then G times G gives you G squared. So this would be 8G squared. And then -2 times -6, because don't forget that -6 means that's a -6. Two negatives would give me positive 12. All right, so go ahead and check your D through F. Make sure you have all that written down. All right, G. Again, I'm multiplying by -1. When you multiply by -1, you're just taking the opposite of what is on the inside. So the opposite of positive W would be negative W. You could put -1W, but it really is just negative W. And the opposite of positive 9 would be -9. For H, multiply -7 times -3. Two negatives would give me positive 21. Okay? And then again, -7 times -5 would give me positive 35. Last problem. Again, I'm multiplying by -1. When you multiply by -1, you're just taking the opposite of whatever's on the inside. So -1 times 6d, or the opposite of positive 6d, would give me -6d. And then the -1 times -1, or the opposite of -1, would be positive 1. And that is it for example 3. If you have any questions on the distributed property, hopefully that was just a quick reminder. You should already know how to do these. If you have any questions, please let me know.